The winning blueprint presents.
In the lab room.
The weekend.
The weekend that was.
We're slate skating. We're slate skating. We're slate skating. We're slate skating.
So moving right along, we find ourselves in another domination game on Sunday. One that I thought was going to go in a different direction. One that I thought was going to be a lot closer than what it was, which was the game between the Atlanta Falcons, who were traveling to rainy, cloudy Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. I thought the Eagles were going to be able to come off of this bye. We know the Eagles under Andy Reid coming into this game were about 12 or 13-0 off of a bye. Dangerous football team once Andy Reid has 2 weeks to prepare for you. And so I thought the Eagles were going to come out and really give the Falcons all they could handle and then some and take this one. And I was really adamant about my decision to go with the Eagles on this game, and it backfired. The Eagles had a chance to come out and really set the tone in this game. The second play from scrimmage, the Falcons received the opening kickoff, and on their second play, Matt Ryan gets pressure on a screen, throws it up, and Fletcher Cox, defensive lineman, yes, he's a defensive lineman, so you can't ask him to make this play, but he should have made this play. Hit him right between the 9 and the 7 on his uniform, drops the football, and if you're the Eagles, that's the break you're looking for. You don't get it any easier than that. The ball hit him square in the numbers, and he just dropped it. And you don't get opportunities like that often. I mean, the ball literally hit him between the 9 and the 1. And I think I said 9 and 7. No, it wasn't Cullen Jenkins. It was Fletcher Cox. They hit him right between the 9 and the 1. He got both hands on it, and he just dropped it. And you don't get opportunities like that against good football teams often. To really, and if he catches this, he walks in the end zone. There was no one in front of him. He was already, momentum was already taking him towards the end zone. He walks in the end zone. Instead, he drops it. Falcons get another chance. They pick up the first down. Okay, so you were able to stop them on 2 consecutive plays. You forced another 3rd and long. So, okay, you didn't get the pick, but you can still get off the field and feel good about yourself. 3rd and long. Matt Ryan dumps it off to a back out of the backfield. He's not going to pick up the first down, but he gets tackled by Jason Babin in the flats. First down. Holding penalty, first down, extends the drive, and Matt Ryan took advantage of that, and he took over from that point on. They went down the field, marched straight down, got a touchdown, wide open. Davis, the receiver, in the end zone, touchdown. They go up 7-0, and from that point on, the Eagles were in trouble in this game. They get a stop due to the Falcons. They get back on the field, so the Eagles commit a few penalties on this next drive for the Falcons, and they use those penalties to catapult them into the end zone again. They go up 14-0 in this game. And now you're saying to yourself, this thing is starting to get out of control in a game that you thought the Eagles were going to have a shot in. The Eagles need to reel them back in. And that's what they did on their next drive. As they methodically moved the football down the field, nice mixture of running pass, and LaShawn McCoy gets in the end zone. And it's 14-7 now. Eagles are right back in this game. Now they need a stop. You were able to get it done on offense to cut that lead in half. Now you need to go out and get a stop. Weren't able to do it. Matt Ryan goes down the field to Julio Jones in double coverage. Drops it in there beautifully. Julio Jones outruns Nnamdi Asomugha and the safety down the sideline. 63-yard touchdown pass. Just like that. Boom. It's 21-7. And you're reeling again. If you're the Eagles, now you're on the ropes again. After climbing back in the ball game, you're now back on the ropes. And this time, They weren't able to respond with another touchdown. The Falcons tacked on 3 field goals in this game. We got well into the second half before the Eagles were actually able to stop the Falcons on a possession and force them to punt. We're talking about 6 for 6 were the Atlanta Falcons on possessions to start the game. 3 touchdowns, 3 field goals. That nets you 30 points. And the Eagles were able to match wits with these guys. They made too many mistakes early on, didn't take advantage of opportunities that were afforded to them. And I really think that this Falcons defense had their best game of the season. This game for the Falcons in general was their best game of the season. They went earlier in the season to the San Diego Chargers and beat them up, and they soundly defeated them, but this was more impressive. I don't think the Chargers are a good football team. The Philadelphia Eagles had the ability to be a good football team coming off of a bye at home. You thought the Eagles were going to have the upper hand in this one, and the Falcons had none of it. And I thought that they were dominant on defense. They ran down Michael Vick, chased him down from behind. They had him under duress this whole game. He was never comfortable. And they dominated this game from start to finish. The Eagles had an opportunity to make plays early on in the game. The Falcons took advantage of the Eagles not taking advantage of the opportunities that they had coming their way. And they jumped on them. And they rode it out. They rode that wave of momentum that they earned early in this football game, and it took them to a 30-17 victory over the Philadelphia Eagles. Now the Falcons elevate their record to 7-0 as the only undefeated team in the National Football League. And the Eagles are reeling. And that change that they made at the bye from their defensive coordinators, I told you I didn't think it was a smart move. I didn't think it made sense at this juncture in the season. Again, that's what the Eagles are doing. Much like the Chargers, they're scapegoating. They're trying to find an excuse as to why everything isn't going the way that it's supposed to. And they'll point the finger at just about anybody at this point. And the defense wasn't the issue. The turnovers were, and the inability of this Eagles team to get it done in crunch time. Those were the reasons they weren't winning games. The last game before the bye, the defense let them down, and they just felt like, okay, the defense let us down this week. We're going to pin the blame on them now. This Eagles team is in free fall mode because there's no one willing to step up and take responsibility for these losses, for the lack of execution on the field. And so they're going to continue to lose football games until they find out the problem, address that problem, as a cohesive unit come together and forge the kind of bond and brotherhood that you need in times of adversity. And they're not doing that right now. Everyone's pointing the finger at someone else. No one's owning up to the responsibility of saying, yeah, I need to be better. I can do better at this. And us as a collective group on the offense or defense or special teams can be better. And if we're better, if everyone does their job better, as a whole, we'll be a better football team and we'll win games. Because this Eagle team has talent. But talent means nothing in this league if you can't get everybody on the same page. And right now, the Eagles as a team are not collectively on the same page. Eagles dropped this one 30-17. They're now 3-4 on the season. The Falcons are now 7-0. And again, league, look out. If the Falcons can play this way, this is the Falcon team that I was looking for. When I said that there's always a but when you talk about the Falcons, there was no but in this game. This is the Falcons team I want to see come postseason. You can do this in the regular season all you like. You do this in the postseason, and you'll be punching a ticket to the Super Bowl. But that's a far-fetched statement because you haven't even won a postseason game yet. So show me what you can do. Show me that this is a consistent effort and not just a one-week wonder off of a bye. And you could very well be playing yourself into a Super Bowl berth this season because this was dominant. This performance here on the road in a hostile environment was dominant. So we move on to another game that I didn't think was going to go in the direction that it went. And that sees the Indianapolis Colts traveling to Tennessee to take on the Titans in a divisional family business matchup. Andrew Luck and the Colts have not won on the road in 2 seasons. This is dating back to the year that the Colts last seen Peyton Manning in a uniform. They didn't win on the road all season last season. They haven't won on the road this season. With a rookie quarterback, that's justifiable. You can see that not happening. But they go on the road against a Tennessee Titans team that has been playing good football of late. Winners of 2 straight. And Matthew Hasselbeck has been the catalyst for this resurgence of the Tennessee Titans. And who would have thought that after a 1-4 start that this Tennessee Titans team would have had a chance to go to 4-4 on the season and even up their record. And I said that he should have been starting to start out this season. But that's nor here nor there. We're not going to talk about the past because it's gone. We're going to talk about the present. And in the present, Matthew Hasselbeck has this Tennessee Titans team playing inspired football. He's giving them that veteran presence, that veteran leadership that you just can't get from a rookie or a second-year quarterback in Jake Locker. And so they have the confidence that if we're behind, we can go down the field and get the game-winning score. If the game's tied, we can go down and put ourselves in position to kick the game-winning field goal. And that's what Matthew Hasselbeck has instilled in this team, and they're playing inspired football. And so they came out in this game, and both of these teams had great opening drives, but they both had to settle for field goals. Andrew Luck was phenomenal in this game. His numbers weren't the greatest, but what I saw from him in this game is something that I've seen in bits and pieces and in spurts, but never for a whole game like I saw in this game. His athletic ability was on full display in this game. I mean, he was rolling out to the left. He was rolling out to the right. He was scrambling for gains outside the pocket. He was throwing on the run. And his throwing on the run was extremely accurate. I mean, he was pinpoint accurate. His throwing from the pocket under duress. I mean, the pocket was crumbling around him. And he was still finding ways to get the football to his receivers. He really had a good showing in this game. And I thought that it was his leadership that willed the Indianapolis Colts to even have a chance in this football game. The Colts played a solid game. They ran the football enough. He still had way too many attempts for my liking, but the way he was playing, those attempts were justified. He still had 38 attempts when it was all said and done, but these attempts were well within the flow of the game, and that's what's important for this Indianapolis Colts football team. But the Titans, I thought they came out. They had a good balance between Chris Johnson in the run and Matthew Hasselbeck in the pass. He was finding open receivers, and they really had a couple of bad breaks in this football game. They forced a fumble on a running play, and they had a guy offsides, and that would have really turned the game around. It was early in the game, 3-3. You get that turnover, you're in Colts territory. The way Matthew Hasselbeck is playing, that could very well turn into 7 points. Instead, it's offsides. Colts get the ball back. You miss out on an opportunity to score points. In this game, and I've looked at this all season. I was talking to a buddy of mine, and we've talked about how the officials are calling a lot more offensive pass interference this year. And I think that in their meetings over the winter and even in the spring, I think they had to have addressed with the officials that, look, you guys got to start calling offensive pass interference. You can't allow these receivers to push off, and don't give these defensive backs the opportunity to make a play on the ball. If you see them push, they don't even have to get a, it doesn't even have to be an extension of the arm anymore. If you push and you catch them, throw the flag. And I think that's what they've been doing. And it is in this game, it was apparent that they were going to call you for offensive pass interference if you did the slightest push on a defender. And they called back a couple of Titan plays, some big ones at that, for offensive pass interference. And it was tough for the Titans. They were really having everything go against them early in this ballgame, but they were able to persevere. Hasselbeck, after having a touchdown called back, was able to strike with the young receiver, Kendall Wright, for a touchdown in the back of the end zone to extend their lead, or to give them a 10-3 lead in this ball game. Titans were able to tack on a field goal, but they never were able to shake the Colts. The Colts were able to hang around in this game. get a field goal, cut it to 13-6, and this game was just nip and tuck. You know, the Titans really couldn't get much going on offense, neither could the Colts. Titans had the Colts right where they wanted them late in this ball game, but it was a great end to the first half. After that touchdown pass to Kendall Wright, there was a lot of action going on at the end of this first half, and the Colts came out in the second half, and the Titans had an opportunity to make it. And I think that's the story of this game. If you look back, if you're the Titans, you're a Titans fan, player, coach, you look back on this game, and it's a game of missed opportunities. You had an opportunity to get a fumble early in this football game. You have a player offsides. That's negated. You have a chance to pick off Andrew Luck early in the second half. And I'm talking about this ball went straight to Colin McCarthy. And he's been reliable in that department for these Titans. If a ball has been thrown errant in his direction, he's picked it off for the most part. This one hit him square in the 5 and the 2, and he dropped the football. And again, just as I spoke about with the Eagles and Fletcher Cox dropping that pick, he catches this pick. I'm not sure that anyone's going to be able to catch him. His momentum was already going towards the end zone. He had a few blockers in front of him. And all of the Colts speedsters and skill players were down the field. So you're talking about Andrew Luck and a handful of linemen giving chase. I don't think any of them would have been able to catch him. That's an opportunity you have to take advantage of. And the Colts get 3 on that possession, which hurts. And it cut that lead to 10-6 in the ball game. And the Titans were able to extend it back out to a 13-6 lead. But again, you take those 3 points off the board, we got a different ball game. We're talking about a 6, maybe 10-point swing, because if you pick that pass off and you get a field goal out of it, you know, that's a 6-point swing. You take 3 points off the board for the Colts. They remain at 3. You get 13 now. Later on in the game, you tack on another field goal. You go up 16-3. That proved to be all the difference you needed to win this game. Instead, you don't get that play. They go down and get a field goal, cut it to 10-6. You get another game. You get another field goal late, extend it to a touchdown, which if you get that pick, it's a 10-point lead instead of a 7-point lead. Colts get the football back late in the game, and Andrew Luck late in ball games has shown the propensity to be masterful on late game drives. And he takes the Colts down the field on a beautiful drive. And this drive had a 4th down conversion in it as well. And they needed Andrew Luck to step up and make plays, and that's what he did time and time again on this drive as he took his team down the field and they were able to get in the end zone and score the game-time touchdown. So the Titans get the football back, and they've got, you know, over 2 minutes to go in this game. They've got a shot. And they had an opportunity. Again, a game of missed opportunities. Jared Cook is streaking down the middle of the field, and if he catches this, I think he's going to score a touchdown. I mean, he was behind the defense, not a Colt defender in sight in terms of someone being behind him, able to stop him from getting in the end zone. And even if he's corralled, even if he's caught from behind by the Colt defender that's trailing on this play, they're in field goal range. They're in Rob Barone's field goal range, and they're probably going to kick the game winner and win this football game. Instead, Hasselbeck overthrows Jared Cook by about 3 yards. They don't get a shot. They have to punt the football. Colts get the football back. And this was an unfortunate break for the Titans in a game that saw them endure a few bad breaks. They get the Colts. They get a Colts receiver stood up. Kobe Fleener on the play, the tight end for the Colts, stood up on the play, and he's being tackled. And this is all in a fluid motion. It's not like he's being stood up. Forward progress has been stopped. They're dragging him backwards, and then the ball comes out. This is all fluid. He catches the football. He's wrapped up by a Titans defender, and simultaneously, as he tries to turn around and get away from that defender, another Titans defender comes in and rips the football out, and they call forward progress had been stopped on the play. It was a quick whistle and a very disappointing whistle if you're the Titans, because that whistle had no business being blown. That was a fumble, one that the Titans recovered cleanly. And at that juncture of the game, if they recover that fumble and not gain another yard, they were already in field goal range. And so that was devastating. That was a bad play. That was a bad call on the part of the officials. Cost the Titans an opportunity to win that football game. They go to overtime. Colts get the football first. Andrew Luck drives them down the field. Makes a pass on a throwback screen to the running back, Vic Ballard, who makes an extraordinary effort on the play to get in the end zone after diving and twisting and contorting his body to extend the football over the end zone after leaping and taking air and taking to flight at the 5-yard line and being twisted in the air and reaching the football past the pylon for the touchdown to seal the game 19-13 in overtime. The Titans fall to the Colts in a very, very scintillating win for the Colts on the road. Their first of the season, their first in 2 years, the first for Andrew Luck as a quarterback in the National Football League. And they get it done on the road. And the Titans, this is one of those losses that you look back on and say, this changed the fortunes of our season. We win this game, and that's 3 in a row. We get to 500. We got a shot. You drop this one, and instead of going to 4-4, now you go to 3-5. And this one hurts. If you're the Titans, this one stings because you had opportunities, and the officials took a few away from you. But, again, you can't cry over spilled milk. You got to take advantage of the opportunities that you get, and you didn't do so. And the Colts are able to come into Tennessee, get it done 19-13, take their record to 4-3. Now they're over 500 for the first time this season. Meanwhile, the Titans are going to be lamenting an opportunity lost as they lose this football game and drop to 3-5 on the season. So as we continue through the weekend that was, we find ourselves in London, where the NFL continues their international series in which they play a game over in London at Wembley Stadium. And this one was between the New England Patriots, who are making their second appearance over in Wembley Stadium in London. And they're taking on the St. Louis Rams, who reluctantly had to give up a home game for this matchup. And you know how they always tell you when something occurs and they don't want a lot of spectators, hey, move on, there's nothing to see here. Hey, move on, there's nothing to see here. That's what happened in this game. Move on. There's nothing to see here. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this game. The Rams came out firing. Sam Bradford, goes up top to Chris Givens early in this football game. They score a touchdown. And they take a surprising 7-0 lead on the Patriots. And you're thinking, look, the Patriots can be had on the defensive end. If they can get behind them and if they can give Sam Bradford time, they could be in trouble. Sprinkle in a little bit of Steven Jackson in that run game, we can have ourselves a ball game. No. 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 The Patriots responded to that touchdown with a touchdown of their own. Chris Givens, who caught that touchdown pass, he injured himself on that very play, did not return, and that was a bad omen for the St. Louis Rams, as that was their one deep threat. They were already minus Danny Amendola. That was it for them. Brady went to work, and he was surgical as always, finding Rob Gronkowski, finding Brandon Lloyd all over the football field, mixing in a little bit of Wes Welker and Danny Woodhead in the process. They ran the football. They did whatever they wanted to do. Another total domination football game on this domination Sunday, or this domination week 8 of the National Football League. They dominated this game. After the Rams scored the opening touchdown of this game, the Patriots proceeded to score 45 unanswered points to close out this football game. They win this game 45-7. This game was never in doubt after they scored their first touchdown, and the Rams didn't have a shot, and they looked like a team that didn't want to be in England, that didn't want to give up a home game to go overseas. And the Patriots, having played this game before, were comfortable overseas. They knew what to expect. They got it done, took care of business, human-like, dominated this game, and now they're coming back home. And so they get the win, 45-7. I mean, Brady was magnificent. Gronkowski was magnificent. Brandon Lloyd was extraordinary. I mean, what else do you want me to say? They went out and they beat up on a St. Louis Rams team that isn't really that good, that can get pressure on the quarterback, but when they don't, they're susceptible to giving up yards. And that's what happened in this game. They didn't get to Brady, and Brady got to them, and game over. 45-7, Patriots take care of the Rams. Rams drop to 3-5 on the season after being over 500. Again, I talk about this every single week. After being over 500 for the first time since 2006 at 3-2, they've dropped 3 straight. And I said, if Jeff Fisher doesn't find a way to turn this thing around and fast, they're going to lose 6 straight and look up, and they're going to be 3-8, and they're going to say, what happened to our season? We were 3-2 at one point. That's how fast this thing can turn around and go into a spiraling tizzy when you're a losing football team. When you're used to losing, it's not uncommon for you to lose one game, have it carry over to the next, have it snowball into another game, and next thing you know, you're on a 6-game losing streak. Jeff Fisher has to turn this thing around. This is where his importance comes in as him being their head coach. If you want to prove your worth as the St. Louis Rams head coach, find a way to win a game here in the next week or two. Because if you don't, you're going to end up being 5-11 this season after being 3-2 at one point in this season. Meanwhile, the Patriots go to London, take care of business as we expected them to do. And now they're 5-3 on the season after being tied with everyone in that division at 3-3. The Patriots are now 5-3, and they're now trying to run away with that division. The Dolphins have something to say about that, but the Patriots are now back in front of that division, and they're playing really solid football. Moving right along, we find ourselves on the 4 o'clock matchups now. And the Oakland Raiders packed up that win that they had a week ago against Jacksonville at home. They packed up that energy, took it on the road to Kansas City to handle some family business. Now, if you haven't been paying attention to this series between the Raiders and the Chiefs, which I know a lot of you haven't, and again, for good reason, the Chiefs have not beat the Raiders in 5 straight games at home. So the Raiders have went on the road against their rivals, the Kansas City Chiefs, and smacked them around in Kansas City 5 straight times. So if you're the Chiefs, you have to have some pride about yourself. You're coming off of a bye. Romeo Crennel has made a couple of subtle changes. You need to get it done at home against the Raiders. The Chiefs came out in this football game, and they forced a pick on the opening possession. If there's any way that you want to start a game on the defensive side of the football, if your team is struggling coming off a bye and you want momentum and you're at home, force a turnover. That's what the Chiefs did. Stanford route picks off and a pass that shouldn't have been thrown by Carson Palmer. Runs it back, to right around midfield. And so the Chiefs are in business. So you get the pick, you get the momentum, you get the crowd on your side, couple dump offs, couple runs that fail, and now you got to punt. You get nothing out of that interception. And that's an easy way to deflate momentum, is to not do something with the turnover. And if you're coming out of the bye and you want to win a football game at home, you need to score. You get a turnover. You can't ask for a better start from your defense, and they put you in good field position. Go out and do something with that. You don't. You punt, and the Raiders, and you pin them deep. I mean, of course, because you had good field position, so you pin them deep in their own territory, and then you allow Denarius Moore to catch a wide receiver screen and go for about 76 yards on you, deep into your territory now. It really changed the game. The Raiders, just like many bad teams around the National Football League, get in the red zone and they can't punch it in. They have to settle for a field goal. They get down there again, have to settle for another field goal. And so the Raiders are up 6-0 in this game. And the Chiefs are reeling. And to add insult to injury, you start Brady Quinn this week because you think he's what you need at the quarterback position. And I didn't disagree with that move. He gets injured. The Raiders were harassing him in this game. They forced him into a fumble on one play, which they recovered, luckily enough for them. But on the very next play, they harassed him again. He throws a pick. And they were slamming Brady Quinn around. They were forcing him out of the pocket. One thing I will say that I saw out of Brady Quinn that I didn't realize he had, Brady Quinn had a set of wheels on him in this game. He was running. Now, some of it was for his life, but nonetheless, he was running away from some Raider defenders, getting yardage and getting down. And so I was impressed with that. But it wasn't enough to keep him in this game. The Raiders were really tossing him around like a rag doll. But it proved to be too much. Slammed him down on his head one time, and he had to leave. And probably ended up with a concussion. I'm not really sure what the diagnosis was, but he had something wrong with his head. And a lot of times, if you leave the game with a head injury, it's a concussion. And the Raiders were slamming him around, and that's what happens when you get tossed around. So enter Matt Castle, who comes in, and I thought he really played solid for this Chiefs team. He came in, and right away he gave them a shot in the arm. He completes a pass to Dwayne Bowe, who runs it into Raiders territory, stiff arms a guy. They get deep in Raiders territory, and we're thinking, okay, if you can get in the end zone here, it's a brand new ball game. The Raiders were only up 6-0 at this point. And if they can get in and take the lead, you will basically turn this game around and cancel out everything the Raiders have done up until this point. Because now you'll be in the lead. But instead, as the Raiders had to do 2 times, as bad teams normally do, the Chiefs did what you don't want to do in the red zone when you have prime opportunity to get a touchdown. They kicked a field goal. So they cut the Raiders' lead to 6-3. And so both teams were struggling to score in the red zone. It was a field goal fest early on. And then the defenses started to play. And I thought the Chiefs, after that field goal, after, Castle's insertion into the game, and he comes in and he's throwing darts and he's really moving the team up and down the field, the Chiefs had the momentum. But when you're a bad team, all it takes is one play to kill any momentum that you're trying to build. And in this case for the Chiefs, it was Javier Arenas dropping or muffing a punt that he called a fair catch on, so there was really no reason to drop this. Called fair catch, he muffs it, the Raiders recover, and we're talking about at the Chiefs' 15-yard lines or so. I mean, the Raiders are in business with this recovery. So a couple plays later, they get in the end zone, and just like that, you go from 6-3 ball game, you're trailing, but you got momentum and you're getting the football back, to Raiders go up 13-3. At this point now, you're struggling. You're reeling because your team that's struggling. You can't afford mistakes. And the Raiders didn't make any, for the most part in this game. Again, Carson Palmer turned it over early on in the football game, but that was like a punt. And the Chiefs did nothing with that turnover. But if you're the Chiefs, you're at home, you're trying to win a game at home. You really haven't been a competitive team at home all season long. And you got the Raiders coming to town, a team that isn't very good, that you have a chance to beat, that you haven't beat in the last 5 trips in Arrowhead. And you got to have some pride about yourself. I'm just not seeing that from the Chiefs. They turn the ball over in this game. The Raiders go up 13-3. First play out of the gate in the second half after the kickoff. First play from scrimmage. You have a botched center quarterback exchange. The Raiders pounce on that and get another field goal. At that point, you're out of the game. Now, I mean, at that point now, you're reeling. I mean, you can't afford for things like that to happen. And you turn the ball over at home. You're struggling. You're trying to find a way to get a win. And you're just giving the Raiders every opportunity to win this football game. And that's what they did. And even after all the mistakes, you're still in this football game. You throw a deep pass to Steve Breston, and what does he do? He drops the football. I mean, you can't win games like that in the National Football League. Making mistakes, turning the football over. Penalties. You get a good run from Jamal Charles. You get a good game on a kickoff, and you get holding penalties both times. You can't have these things happen if you're trying to win a football game and you're struggling. You're already struggling. You need things to go in your direction, and you make mistakes. Hard for you to win. The Raiders go into Kansas City, hand the Chiefs another loss. Raiders get this one 26-16, taking their record to 3-4 on the season, dropping the Chiefs to 1-6 on the season. And another loss like this makes it that much harder for the Chiefs to bring back Romeo Crennel next year. And I really don't think it's his fault. Again, there's a lot of retooling that these Chiefs need to do, and it starts at the quarterback position. But when you're making mistakes week in and week out on the field, it starts with the head coach. You're not prepared to win football games. And so I can't defend Romeo Crennel because I'm still bitter over the fact that they let Kyle Orton walk out of that building after he was the quarterback that got you that job in the first place. You should have been doing everything in your power to keep Kyle Orton on that roster. And I can't bring myself to feel sorry for Romeo Crennel and the Kansas City Chiefs as they fall again at home, the 6th consecutive time they lose to the Raiders at Arrowhead, 26-16. And now the Raiders are 3-4. And while, you know, that puts them at 2nd place in that division, I don't see the Raiders as being a contender in the AFC West or in the AFC period because they're getting fat off of, you know, lousy competition. And that's what you're supposed to do. You can only play the teams that are put in front of you. So while I give them kudos for beating these teams, the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Kansas City Chiefs, beating the teams that you're supposed to, and yeah, they beat the Steelers at home. I don't see them as being a good football team. The last time they played a good team at home, or the last time they played a good team, they gave the Falcons a run for their money. But the Falcons have struggled this season against teams that they should be beating handily. They could have lost to the Redskins. They could have lost to the Panthers. They could have lost to the Raiders. So I don't give them a lot of, you know, merit on that because, again, the NFL is not about more victories. You didn't win the game. You lost. You play the Broncos in Denver. You get destroyed. I don't see this as a good team. I don't see the Raiders. They're still a young team in transition. And we're going to find out a lot about these Raiders in the next coming weeks. They have Tampa Bay at home. If you want some respect, you beat Tampa Bay at home. Tampa Bay Buccaneers are playing good football. You've seen that they're not afraid to go on the road and get it done. Take care of the Buccaneers at home. Because your schedule doesn't get any easier after that. You got the Ravens coming up. You got the Bengals coming up. You got the Saints coming up. It's about to become real for these Raiders. And so we're going to see what they're really made of. If they can't beat the Buccaneers at home, I can see this easily turning into a 4-game losing streak for the Raiders. So we're going to see what the Raiders are made of coming up here shortly as they notch another victory against the Chiefs at Arrowhead, 26-16. Next, we turn our attention to America's game of the day. And frankly, this was the absolute game of the day in Week 8 on this slate of games as we continue down the slate of games on the weekend that was. The Dallas Cowboys hosted their division rivals, and frankly, this has become the marquee matchup in the NFC East. And there's a lot of rivalries within this division, as it is with every division, but in this division, for the last 5-6 seasons, this has been the preeminent rivalry in this division. The Giants and the Cowboys. It doesn't get any better than that in the NFC East as of late. And this one lived up to past games and lived up to the hype. Coming into the weekend, this was supposed to be one of the better games of the weekend, and it absolutely was. And this is another Cowboys-Giants slugfest in the long line of Giants-Cowboys slugfest. So this one fits right in to these two teams going at it, and why we love this matchup in the NFC East. This looked like a blowout to start out. I mean, we talk about how good this game was, but if you turned this game on with about 10 seconds left in the first quarter because you just got home, let's say you just came home from church, and you strolled into your living room and turned the TV on with about 10 seconds remaining in the first quarter, and you thought you were going to sit down and watch yourself a good ball game, you were disappointed. You were disappointed. So what you missed, essentially, if you turned it on with about 10 seconds left in this game, is a rash of Cowboys turnovers, spanning from 2 Romo interceptions and a Des Bryant muffed punt fumble. After regaining possession of that muffed punt, he fumbled on that same punt return, which led to 16 Giant points. I mean, the Giants did absolutely nothing on offense. They didn't have to, because the Cowboys were imploding on offense themselves And this Giants defense was pouncing on opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. Stevie Brown picks off Tony Romo early in the football game on a ball that Des Bryant needed to compete for a little bit more. Can't allow the safety to get in front of your face and make a play on that ball. It's picked off. Giants get a field goal out of it. And this defense for the Cowboys, they stood tall. If not for this defense, this is a blowout. They force a field goal. So Cowboys get the football back. And again, Romo is picked off. This time going up top to Miles Austin, and Corey Webster is in good position. He takes the ball, picks it off, runs it back into Cowboy territory. Again, Cowboys defense stands up, forces a field goal. Then the Cowboys are getting the football back after another stop by this Cowboys defense. They punt the football to Des Bryant, and after already trailing in this game 9-0 because this defense has stood up, did the Cowboys, and forced the Giants to field goals after being in the red zone at least twice, if not 3 times, because of the offense putting them in bad situations. Des Bryant muffs a punt after having a punt being muffed a week ago and telling everyone that, well, listen, I won't do it again. He does it again, fumbles, picks it back up, tries to make something happen, and ultimately fumbles. How many times do you see that happen? A guy muffs a punt, and instead of him just cutting his losses, trying to make something happen, and ends up fumbling on the play because you never really get your wits about yourself after muffing that punt. See, in college, you can drop the football, dust it off, pick it up, and make guys miss and score because guys aren't athletes that you're playing against in college. You know, there's some walk-ons and, you know, a couple of guys that run a 4.9 out on that special teams unit. So you can just, you know, run past everyone and use your athleticism. You know, Des Bryant may have gotten away with that once or twice at Oklahoma State in his career after muffing something and then picking it up and running it back. Can't do that in the National Football League. Everyone's an athlete. And so you make a mistake, they're going to make you pay for that mistake. Giants pounce on that fumble, and this time they deposited it for 7. And all of a sudden, we got ourselves a 16-0 football game. And so if you're just walking in the door with 10 seconds left in the first quarter, it's 16-0, and you're like, what happened? What is going on? Why are they losing 16-0? That's why. The Cowboys were turning the football over left and right. 3 turnovers, 13 Giant points, 16 points for the Giants in all. And so you're thinking, okay, new quarter for the Cowboys. They're only 1 score away from being back in this football game. As bad as they've played, they're 1 Tony Romo, Miles Austin, Des Bryant strike away from being back in this game. So Tony Romo gets back under center, and they're putting together a little drive. And he goes to throw a swing pass out to Felix Jones in the flats. And Jason Pierre-Paul, being the freak that he is, leaps up, snatches the ball right out of the air, runs it in for another touchdown. And just like that, it is 23-0. Giants are really taking it to the Cowboys. And the Cowboys, at this point, they can't believe their eyes. They don't know what has happened. It's the 3rd round of a 12-round prize fight. And they've already been knocked down 3 times. They're stunned. I mean, they're getting up off the canvas. They've picked up their mouthpiece. They've stuck it back in their mouth. But they're woozy, and they don't know what is going on right now. They're just trying to make it through this round, get back to their corner, and get a little bit of water splashed on their face. So they're able to survive the round, and they finally stopped turning the football over. And that was the key because this defense for the Cowboys was playing good football. They were playing good enough to be winning this football game. But their offense was doing so much damage that it was nothing that this defense, even though they were playing at their best, it was nothing that they could do about it. And so, after trailing 23-0, they finally woke up. They stopped turning the football over, and they settled down. And what that meant for them offensively, the Giants weren't really stopping them. They were stopping themselves. They were turning the football over. Defensively, the Giants weren't moving the football against this Cowboys defense. So, If you stop turning it over, you start scoring points, and the Giants can't do anything on offense because this defense has been stifling them for the most part all game long, you're going to climb back into this game if you can just cut out the mistakes. And being that the Cowboys self-destructed so early, it was a lot of time left in this football game. All they had to do was cut out the mistakes. And they did that. They scored the final 10 points of the first half, scored the first 14 points of the second half, and just like that, the Cowboys rolled off 24 unanswered points to take the lead in this football game in the fourth quarter. A stunning turnaround. Because if you were watching this game in the first half, you thought no way that this game is even going to be close. The Giants are going to win this one in a laugher. You know, the critics are going to jump on Tony Romo on this Cowboys team, and this could be one of those games that defines the Cowboys season and ultimately land a lot of people, including Tony Romo and head coach Jason Garrett, in some hot water come the end of the season. But the Cowboys did not go away. They didn't hang their head, and they made this a ball game. And they take the lead 24-23. And so, for the first time all game, the Giants were trailing, and they actually had to have it on offense. Because even though they weren't doing anything on offense, they still had the lead. So it was okay. It was fine because you still were winning the game. You had such a cushion that nobody was really getting on you about your struggles on offense. It was okay. You were still up 23-7. You were still up 23-10. You were still up 23-17. Now you're down 24-23. Now you got to have it. And, of course, Eli Manning, being the clutch quarterback that he is, put together a nice, solid drive. Wasn't able to get in the end zone, but got them in field goal range. Lawrence Time, being the consistent, reliable kicker he's been all season, pounds it through, and they take the lead back from the Cowboys 26-23. Before we go any further, I want to talk about a play in the game that I thought was crucial. Because when you're winning 23-0, everything gets swept under the rug. You don't really pay attention to mistakes because you have such a lead that you feel like it doesn't really matter. We're okay. That Ahmad Bradshaw fumble when this game was 23-0, that was critical because it gave the Cowboys life. They needed a boost, and that was the shot in the arm that they needed. They needed something to give them momentum, give them hope, give them a reason to believe that they still had a chance. He doesn't fumble. If they just punt the football, I think this is a whole different ballgame. One that the Cowboys probably never climb back into. But his fumble early on in the second quarter gave the Cowboys that ray of hope. It left the door slightly cracked for them to stick their foot in and say, hey, don't shut that door. We're coming in. And it didn't seem like a lot at the time, but that fumble, which led to Cowboys points, really jump-started that offense and jump-started this team on the comeback trail. So we fast forward back. Giants ahead 26-24 in the ball game. Cowboys really have scored on their last 5 or 6 possessions. So they're playing good football now. You're thinking, they can't stop us. So Cowboys get the football back, and they haven't turned it over in a while. They've been scoring points. They've scored on probably their last 4 out of 5 possessions. And wouldn't you know, in typical Cowboys fashion, when the game gets tight, they make a mistake. Felix Jones carrying the ball just as loosely as you can carry it in a crowd. And I don't understand what his thinking there was. I mean, he had the ball way down here. If you're a running back, that ball should be high and tight. And you're getting in traffic. And he's got the ball down by his waist. Runs into a lineman, and that's always trouble when you unexpectedly run into your own teammate. Ball comes out. Giants get on that fumble. They get a field goal out of it. And now, instead of it just being a field goal for the lead, now you need a touchdown to take the lead. Field goal does you no good at this point. And Cowboys get the football back, drive it down. They get in 2nd and 1 after getting 9 yards on first down. This is inexcusable. Okay, you're driving the ball down the field. You're in Giants territory. We're inside the red zone. You're going for the game-winning touchdown. It's 2nd and 1. Run the football. Get the first down. Okay, fine. You don't want to run it. You want to take a shot at the end zone. Okay, second down, I believe, was Jason Witten on the out. Okay, he didn't catch it. So you don't get the first down. Fine. It's third and run. Not third and one. Third and run. Run the football. Get the first down. Get you a fresh set of downs to go win the football game with. What do? Throw the football in the end zone. You need a yard, okay? If you're going to throw the football, throw it to the sticks. Get the first down. So you take a shot at the end zone. Not happening. Now it's 4th and 1. Run the football. What are you doing? Get a first down. The Giants were giving you a first down. They didn't want it. Pass the ball, and he's looking for Witten all the way. Witten had 18 catches on this day, well over 100 yards. They were keying on him. They double-teamed him on this play. That was where Romo wanted to go. They took it away, and now he's running for his life. Throws it up for grabs. It's picked off by Stevie Brown. Giants have the football. It seems like the game is over, but the Cowboys still have 3 timeouts. The Giants don't want to do anything stupid here. So they just run the football. And Ahmad Bradshaw, and I thought that on third down, I thought he actually was a lot closer than the officials gave him credit for. I thought he actually might have had the first down, being that he was on a few bodies. Nonetheless, they marked him short. The Giants had to punt. Cowboys have no timeouts. And a little less than a minute to go. They drive down the field. Tony Romo gets them in position with about 15 seconds left to take a shot at the end zone. He throws up a prayer to Des Bryant and back of the end zone. Michael Cole is in the game at safety because Antrell Rowe decided he wanted to be a submarine and take a shot at Des Bryant on the sideline. Good thing he missed because it would have been a 15-yard hitting a defenseless receiver penalty. Instead, he misses and submarines onto his shoulder and his head. He has to leave the football game. So now Michael Cole is in, which is a safety, a corner out at safety. Tony Romo throws the football up in double coverage. Cole has an easy opportunity at a pick or a knockdown. You pick, just do one of them. He does neither. Des Bryant comes down with the football back of the end zone. Touchdown. Cowboys take the lead with 6 seconds left in the football game. Unbelievable. But upon further review, Des Bryant goes to brace his fall, puts his hands down. His hands touch the end zone and out of the end zone on the white chalk just before his body lands in the end zone. Incomplete pass. So now we go back to third down. Cowboys get another shot at the end zone, and they've got 6 seconds remaining. They roll out, and Tony Romo is under pressure, doesn't get to follow through with his pass, and so the ball sails out of the end zone. Doesn't give his team a chance to catch a Hail Mary or at least have something silly happen like the end of that Packers-Seahawks game. Goes out of the back of the end zone, and the Giants escape with a 29-24 victory against the Cowboys in a game that the Cowboys had opportunities to win after really giving the game away, coming back, taking control of the game, only to have it snatched away from them again. Tough loss for the Cowboys in a season full of tough losses. But that's, again, the mark of a bad football team or a team that's not very good. You lose games that you should win if you're a good team. And the Cowboys aren't a good team. They should have beaten the Ravens. They should have beaten the Giants. The Giants had this game, gave it away. Cowboys had all the momentum in the world, and they didn't make the plays down the stretch to win the football game. And so instead of you being 4-3 on the season, you're now 3-4 on the season if you're the Cowboys. Meanwhile, the Giants have really put a stranglehold on that division in the NFC East with this win over the Cowboys. Not only do they get a season split with the Cowboys, which they needed desperately, but now they go up a full 2.5 games over everyone else in that division. With the Eagles losing to the Falcons and dropping to 3-4 on the season, the Cowboys losing to those very Giants, dropping them to 3-4 on the season, and the Redskins losing to the Pittsburgh Steelers on this day, dropping them to 3-5 on the season. The Giants are 6-2 in that division, and now they're leaps and bounds ahead of everyone else in that division. So now the Giants rest comfortably atop the NFC East, and that's a bad loss for the Cowboys. It's a bad loss for the Cowboys, and the Giants, they should be counting their blessings because they had a 23-0 lead, blew it, and got the opportunities to get this win, and they took advantage of them, but they should have lost this football game. The Giants had this game, should not have allowed the Cowboys back into it, but did, and they caught some breaks down the end, and they were able to walk away with the victory. Very entertaining football game, though. Best of the weekend by far. So the last up on the docket on Sunday finds Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints traveling to Denver to take on Peyton Manning and the Denver Broncos, and a matchup of two Hall of Fame quarterbacks. Two Hall of Fame quarterbacks that over the last couple of weeks have been playing lights out football. And you knew this was going to be a shootout between two quarterbacks that can get it done. And you knew it was going to take a lot of points to win this game. What you didn't expect was for the Saints to really be bogged down by this Denver Broncos defense. I mean, the Broncos came out, really got pressure on Drew Brees, and they were aggressive and physical with that Saints offense. So much so to the point that, you know, they had guys leaving the game left and right, and Drew Brees was never really comfortable in this game. And I was surprised. I really was very impressed with the Denver Broncos on this night defensively. I mean, you know what they're going to do on offense. You know that if given the opportunity, Peyton Manning is going to carve you up because he's starting to build a rapport with these receivers. You see it every week, it getting stronger and stronger. The relationship between he and Demaryius Thomas and he and Eric Decker. You already know that he trusts Brandon Stokely. He trusts Jacob Tamme. These are guys he's played with in the past. So as soon as he begins to build that rapport with his main guys on the outside, and I'm talking Demaryius Thomas on one side, Eric Decker on the other side, this is going to be a lethal passing attack. Because those are two borderline elite receivers. I love what these guys bring to the table. Eric Decker is like Jordy Nelson Jr. Demaryius Thomas is a monster. He's another receiver in the long line of beast receivers from Georgia Tech. And so you look at what they have on offense, you sprinkle in a little bit of that Willis McGahee run game. They're slowly bringing along Ronnie Hillman. This Broncos offense is going to be dangerous, but before this season is over. Come week 16, week 17, this Broncos offense is going to be one of those ones where you just don't want to face. And if they can get this defense on track, I like that young corner that they have out there across from Champ Bailey, who's playing in the absence of Tracy Porter. When Porter comes back, hell, you're going to have three of the best corners, or at least three, one of the best trio of corners out in the National Football League on the field at one time. I mean, they're playing some really good football. I really like this Broncos team. And they took it to the Saints. They ran the football. Yeah, they had a few turnovers, which kept the Saints in this game. Early on, Willis McGahee fumbled the ball. But you knew it was only a matter of time before, you know, Peyton Manning got it going, started to rev it up, and they just started to take advantage of these Saints. And this Saints defense is so bad that you knew it was only going to be a matter of time before Peyton Manning started to carve them up, because this Saints defense is one of the worst defenses that I've seen in the last 5 years. I mean, they're really bad. They can't stop the run. They don't stop the pass. They don't make plays. And so their one sole purpose in a game is to just get 1 or 2 stops and hope that the offense is going to score 31 points. It's going to score 35 points. And so, because they're going to give up 28 every week, at least 28. And with Peyton Manning playing the way that he's playing, they're going to score over 30 on this Saints defense. And they did. And it wasn't really a close ball game. Peyton Manning did whatever he wanted to, whenever he wanted to, however he wanted to. And I expected him to. I just thought that the Saints on offense were going to be able to score more points and make this thing a shootout. This was a one-team exhibition. The only team firing off their weapon was the Broncos on this night. They were at the shooting range, and the target was the New Orleans Saints defense. There was no back and forth exchange like I thought it was going to be. It's just one team going to work on another. And the Broncos got it done at home as I expected them to, because, again, this Saints defense is putrid. And Peyton Manning did what he's been doing over the last 3 weeks, which is just annihilating opposing defenses. And he went to work on them, and they got the win in convincing fashion, 34-14 over these Saints. And now I think that the Broncos are in position to run away with the AFC West. They're the best team in that division, head and shoulders above the rest of that division. And I think they're ready to take the next step to just run away with that division altogether. So they win the game 34-14. They take their record to 4-3 on the season, drop the New Orleans Saints to 2-5. And I told you that this was going to be the end of their little run. They thought that they were going to turn their season around. Drew Brees looked us all in the eye and lied to us about 3 weeks ago when he said they were going to turn this thing around, and he had the most confidence in doing so. I said they're not going to do it. It's not in the cards for them. You don't just lose 4 straight games to start the season and think you're just going to turn it around because you're good on offense. Your defense is just as bad on defense as you are as good on offense. So have no confidence in that Saints team whatsoever, and it showed on Sunday. And they're going to continue to lose ball games. They're going to win their fair share, but they're going to lose games when they come up against teams that can score points and play a little bit of defense. That's all you need against this Saints team, because that defense is so bad. Wow, are they bad on defense. So that's going to do it for the Sunday slate of games. That's a touchdown. Throw it up. I'm going to tack on this quick extra point. And the extra point, of course, is Monday. It's going to be the Monday night matchup, which sees the San Francisco 49ers traveling out to Arizona to take on their divisional rivals, the Arizona Cardinals. After starting the season 4-0, they've dropped 3 straight. They need a win in the worst way. What better way to do it, and what bigger stage can you do it on than Monday Night Football if you're the Arizona Cardinals? You want a big way to bust out of your slump? Beat the division-leading San Francisco 49ers at home on Monday Night Football to knock them down a peg in the division and give you a slice of the division lead. Doesn't that sound great if you're the Cardinals? Yeah, it does. One problem. Not going to happen. Because you can't protect your quarterback. Doesn't matter whoever it is. You can't protect them. The 49ers have been playing solid football, and we know what they are on defense. They're a juggernaut on defense. And in this game, I just see them coming out, exerting their will and dominance on the Cardinals, especially on the defensive end. I think they're just going to come out and smother that Cardinals offense. Really not give them a chance to get off and get into any kind of offensive rhythm. Meanwhile, on offense, the 49ers are going to run the football with Frank Gore. Not ask a lot of Alex Smith, which is the game plan every week. Run the football. Don't ask a lot out of Alex Smith. Don't turn it over. Do just enough to get it done and move on with a victory. And that's what I expect them to do. This is going to be a hard-fought game. You know why? It's family business. What happens in the family stays in the family. So this isn't my family business. This isn't your family business unless you're a fan of one of those 4 teams, which you're probably not. So if it's not your business, it's not my business, then stay out of it. It's their family business. Just sit back with a cold beverage on your recliner, your sofa, or whatever you like to watch the game in. Kick back and relax and watch these 2 teams go at it. Watch the 49ers take it to the Cardinals defensively and leave Arizona with a 19-16 victory. Now, that sounds like a very close football game, and it may very well be. But this probably is going to be more along the lines of 19, to 9. At the end of the game, the Cardinals get a late score to make it look closer, kick an onside kick, which they don't recover, and the 49ers take some knees and the game's over. That's probably more along the lines of what this game is going to be. But who knows? We've seen crazy things on Monday Night Football, on Thursday Night Football, so you just never know what to expect. But that's what my take is on the game tonight. And I need this game to stay over 500 for the week. So I expect the 49ers to take care of business, get me to 8-6, a disappointing 8-6, but I'll take it at this point because that's as good as I can do. And we move on to week 9. So that's it for this episode of In the Lab Room. I thank you for joining me. It's a long weekend. What did I tell you about my Notre Dame Fighting Irish? I told you, we don't turn it over. Everson Golson goes in there, takes care of the football, and plays solid football. I like that young fella. Oklahoma doesn't scare me. I saw K-State go into Oklahoma earlier this season and take care of business. Everyone was acting like Oklahoma is this offensive juggernaut. They're not Oregon. They're not scoring 60 points every week. Who's Oklahoma? I'm just so glad that everyone else thinks so high of them that makes that win look that much better for us. It was a big win for us on the road. Don't get me wrong. But Oklahoma isn't as good as everyone thinks they are. And we had to show you that they're just not as good as you thought they were. So now we're number 3 in the nation because we took care of business on the road, as I suspected we would, and a lot of people didn't think we would be able to. I wasn't buying that, but now the test for Notre Dame is going to be, and this is going to be as much college football as we talk about on this program because this isn't a college football program. But I'll say this, and then I'll leave it alone. We got a couple of games that we should win coming up. The big test for this Notre Dame team is to not throw up on yourselves during this course of 4 weeks or 3 weeks leading up to that USC game. Find a way to beat up on these teams like Boston College, like Pitt, that you're supposed to. Don't lay an egg somewhere along the line and have your dream season destroyed because you couldn't keep your focus on the team in front of you and you're looking forward to USC. Don't look ahead. Look at the team right in front of you. Don't look way past them and falter to a Pitt or Boston College coming up in the next couple of weeks. And that's going to do it for this episode. I thank you for joining me in the lab room. Love to hear from you. I've been hearing a lot from you guys. I enjoy the feedback. I thank you for all the support that you've given me. And I want to hear more from you. And the inbox is in the lab room at gmail.com. I'm on Facebook. In the lab room is the Facebook page. You know, every single episode I've ever done on that Facebook page. So check it out. And if you do, like it while you're there. And also I'm on Twitter. At In the Lab Room is the Twitter handle. So if you get a chance, you're on Twitter, like the Twitter page and, follow me on Twitter. You'll have every episode come to you as I post them because I post them on Twitter just as I post them on Facebook. So, again, want to hear from you guys. And I thank you for joining me on this Mondays with a long episode. But as Monday always is, it's a grind. A lot of things to go over, and we got it done. Enjoy the game tonight, which sees the 49ers taking on the Cardinals. A little bit of family business happening. So enjoy the game. We'll come back on Tuesday, talk about the game, and then we'll get into the rest of our week. So that's the episode. I thank you again for joining me. Have a good one. Want to see you back here at the same time, same place. Enjoy the game tonight.